All right, kiddos, this is Mr. B, and this is the how-to for completing the performance work for week 7 on the tritone. Here's a little bit of a quick checklist rubric for you. We've got to get 145 BPM, we've got to do 12 measures, and we've got a bass and a melody and a vocal. You may add other parts if you'd like, but those are the things that are critical as it relates to the assignment. So we're going to go into creating a song and start out with something new. Alchemy Synth, as usual, getting away from our epic cloud formation into main categories and keyboards and classical grand as always. Done. Now, the first thing we're going to do that's different is if you look along the top of the iPad in GarageBand, it looks like there's an 8-inch ruler at the top. Those are, in fact, measures, and they're also called bars. So in this case, inches, bars, and measures are the same word, right? Describing the same thing. We have 8 bars here. That is what our structure has been through the year. The song we're working on today is a 12 bar, and it's also related to something called the blues. 12-bar blues is very common and a very normal structure. So now you look at the top there, and we have 12 bars. The other thing we've got to make sure we do this week is we're moving up our tempo from 110 to 145 beats per minute, because that's what the original TV show theme song was at. Yes, I did a little bit of homework. I'm also a Batman fan, but I wouldn't have remembered it perfectly. I had to look it up. So then the next thing we're going to do is play our bass part. Now, this time, we're going to scroll over, and we want to get down here to the octaves in the ones, okay? So this would be G0. This is C1. So we want to come over here to G. I recorded mine an octave lower, but I think for your voices, this is better. So this is the part where this is the G that's starting. And then we go to the 5th. Pardon me, C, 4th. And then we go back to the root. And then we go to the 5th. And then the 4th. So that's how Batman works, all right? So in recording, we're doing this. And then you should end up with something like this. So here is your G that you played, okay? And then here's your C, and then back to your G, and then the D, and then the C, and then the G again. That is a traditional 12-bar blues using a 1-4-5 progression. And now you know what that all basically means. If you ever hear anybody say that, you can go, oh, that's Batman, right? What's different about Batman is the way the cymbals are played on the ride and the way the beat is. It's got that just a ka-ka-pa-pa-ka-pa-boom-pa-ka-pa, which makes it a surf kind of blues. And the tempo at 145 beats per minute makes it feel like a surfy kind of blues, because blues is typically slower. All right, the next thing that we're going to add there is our melody patterns. And the way these melody patterns work, we're going to go a little higher so that we get a bit of an offset. So we're going to go up 1 octave. So we're going to change it to G2 in our settings. So we're going to go scrolling up, and this was our C2, so this is now our G2. So what you're going to do now is within each of these segments, and I'm going to just turn myself so you can see me too. You're going from, we got your D to G, and then we went back to G, and then to D. So around each of these 3 clusters, you're going to do the following. You're going to go. That's the na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's da. Now the interval between G and C sharp is the tritone. That is the tritone. That sound is the tritone. Okay? We're taking some liberties in talking about it here in this context, but it's because of the tritone that this tension is created in the voice. But we're also then using that. So we're going. And then we're going to go. And then back to the G. And then the D. Then the C. And then back to the G. Unfortunately, you're just recording it, because if you were actually playing in a band, you'd be doing it the whole time and it gets very boring. So here we go. Wait a minute. What did I lose? What did I lose? What did I lose? Ah, I killed my first piano part. So I've got to, look at that. Did you see that? All right. So what I needed to do that I didn't do is I needed to duplicate my track, and now I'm good. Now I'm back here again, and we can go back to my piano, and we may record once again. It's probably good that you see how we fix mistakes. So let's record. And I made a mistake again. There we go. Now, what I would suggest, you don't need to add, a ton of tracks like I did in my example, in my version. Again, I've only shared with you the original 3 tracks. You can add drums and things like that if you'd like to, but the requirement in terms of the assignment is these 2 tracks. The next thing that you're going to need to add are your vocals and the voice. So the way we're going to do that is go back into our tracks, and we're going to add a voice. So right here you go to voice. And again, if you had headphones, you would go ahead and use them. You do not want to turn the monitor on to record, because again, if you get that sound, which is called feedback. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to simply speak. Remember, the microphone's right over here, over on the side. So this is how we're going to do this. All right, we've got it. Now, what we can do after we've got it recorded, I want you to show you that it's recorded. It's there. So here's me singing Batman. Now this week, for fun, if you would like, once you've got that track there, go back into the mic settings, and then go to Fun, and then pick the shark, and then come back and push play. There you go. So that is what is required for this week. I will show you in my other example, in my other creation, my original work. Here is what I ended up doing. And if you would like to add the extra tracks, you may. It is not a requirement. I'm going to get rid of that. So here is what I ended up doing. I added a brass part. I added the trumpet hits, which in the TV show, when people are getting punched and hit with things, the sound of something is what's called an onomatopoeia. And so typically within Batman, you'll have like the word pow gets written, or crash, or bam is sort of drawn in. Those words, again, are called onomatopoeia. Also, what often happens is you get like a horn strike that's there. Those horn strikes are not the tritone. Now, they may have a tritone in them, okay? But typically, they're just kind of random hits, to get that kind of dissonant sort of sound. The drum part that I added is simply a ride, and I'm just going bass and snare. So there's simple parts. If you would like to know more about how to do them or you want to do them, let me know. They're not required for the assignment, however. But here's how my final work sounded. But again, you are only required this week to do the first 3 tracks. So again, 12 measures, 145 beats per minute, 1 bass line, and then ultimately you've got 4 melody lines that you're working on, but they're still within one concise track. And then you have your vocal that you're adding dry, that's what we call it, with no effects on it, and then switch it into the effects when you're done. Thank you very much, kiddos. I hope you have a great week. And again, this is week 7, the how-to for the tritone.